Okay, so irresistible. Claiming the truth of I am irresistible. It's not what you think, but it's a very interesting revelation, this one. Because the reality is all of us hold the energy of being irresistible. And at the most fundamental, I suppose, primal part of us is to be irresistible. We all came from the stars, basically. We all originated from the same place. And ultimately that was we were birthed out of space. Just like every other particle. And in the same way, when every... so you may not know this, but in space is not empty. It's the opposite of being empty. And if you were to get a Perspex box and just fill it with space and then close the lid, it would look like an empty box. But in truth, within that box, there will be positive and negatively charged pairs of particles being birthed and then self-annihilating. Well, not self-annihilating, but colliding and annihilating. So if you imagine a positive and a negative, they're being birthed, they immediately repel each other and resist each other, and then they are irresistible to each other. And when they come together, they collide and an annihilation happens. And an annihilation is simply when the antithesis of a particle is irresistible to the other, to its antithesis, and they come together and they annihilate, which means they become pure light and they cease to exist in their present form. So that's happening all the time in space. It's like birth, death, before they even become anything. But this is the most fundamental nature of everything that is of atomic mass. And that is that the deepest part of us is irresistible. But there's a catch to this. When we're a child, and when a child is born, it follows a very similar evolutionary path to the birth of existence, of all existence, where in the beginning there's just pure awareness, and the best way to think of awareness is to be able to see all without the ability to describe what is being seen, let alone interpret what it means. So awareness is choiceless. There's an absence of mind. There's an absence of meaning. It's just pure vision. It's the same with a child. When a child is born, they are pure awareness. They can see, but they cannot describe or interpret. And as the child evolves in the same way, the very nature of existence, the same way it evolved, is what arose is the desire to be able to describe what is being seen. And in a child, you see this, they point at inanimate objects and they say, cat, cup, doggy, plate, truck. They just point and describe. And this is the same way that the very nature of existence arose and evolved, is the ability to not just observe, but to describe. And in order to describe, there has to be some form of mind. And so this is where the birth of the mind, this is how it evolved. It all arose from desire in the same way. And this desire, the most primal nature of this desire, is to become more and more of what I am capable of becoming, to realize more and more of my latent potential. And this is what's driving all of evolution, in fact. People think it's joy and all the rest of it, but it's actually fulfillment. And that fulfillment comes from realizing more and more of what I am, of what we are. Oh, I am this. I am this. I am this. I am this. And it's the nature of it is unexpected. It's like the moment it happens, the moment it's realized, that's the point of fulfillment. And so, the same as the child, cat, truck, car. Eventually it gets to the point where the child wants to be able to interpret what it means. It's like, yeah, this is a truck, but so what? And that's when the child starts asking, why? Why is that truck red? It's the desire for meaning. And oh man, it's so classic when the child goes through this phase, what they want to know why everything, just a million questions, one after the other. Why? And this is exactly how it happened. All the nature of existence evolved in this exact same way. Of course, it's extraordinarily evolved now beyond our ability to even conceive, but nonetheless, this is how its own nature unfolded. And, as above, so below, it's the same with our children. And what people don't realize is that meaning is actually the marriage of thought and feeling. So you have a thought, and that thought comes in the form of a vision. So you can say that that's awareness. If it involves vision, that's awareness. Our most primal nature is that we are pure awareness that is devoid of mind and meaning. And so when we get a vision, is we follow the same path. We give it unconditional presence, because that's all that we could do in the beginning, is we were unconditionally present and aware of what we were seeing. You stay with it until it becomes more, until we can describe it. And so we begin describing it. And so for me, it would be, okay, I've just received a vision, a thought, vision. I stay with it. Okay, I'm seeing myself, playing a game of tennis. I'm playing a game of singles. I'm looking really fit and healthy. It's at the local courts down the road. And so I start describing it to myself. I'm describing the vision. And so then I stay unconditionally present with it, with the intention to interpret the meaning. Why? Why am I playing tennis? Why am I looking healthy? Why am I playing at the local courts? And this is the fundamental nature of all of reality, is that meaning is all that matters. Meaning determines what arises next. Because nature, the nature of nature is that it arises. And it's always just going to arise. if I receive an impulse to go and get a glass of water in half an hour, I don't know that that's going to happen. It just arises. If I receive a vision in half an hour, I don't know that it's going to come. It just arises. So meaning is the only thing that matters, because it ultimately determines what's going to arrive next. What's going to arise next, sorry. And meaning is personal. What I decide that something means is what it means. Someone else I could describe my vision to someone else, and it could mean something completely different. But neither of those perspectives are wrong. They're both precisely right and precisely wrong. It is a paradox, because the existence of both perspectives doesn't invalidate the other. It means both are true and false. Anyway, I don't want to get into paradoxes. There's another podcast on that if you want to check that out. I think it was called, I can't remember what it's called now. Just listen to all of them, you'll find it. So, meaning. So I'm playing tennis and I'm looking fit and healthy. It's at the local courts. I've got a new tennis racket. What does that mean? And once I interpret that meaning for myself, it's that the very intention to interpret the meaning evokes emotion. And so if I just say to myself, well, what would it mean if I was to be able to go and play tennis down at local courts? And if I was fit and healthy, and I'd love that. And so I'm starting to entertain the meaning, and I'm starting to notice how good that would feel. Oh, that'd be really good. Oh, who would I play with? Oh, I can da-da-da-da. And so you can see meaning is starting to determine how my nature is going to arise and what I'm going to create next. And so all of a sudden, my vision is expanding. I'm seeing that the person I'm playing against is my mate from down the road. It's the guy that I don't normally play because he's better than me. And so I'm interpreting that meaning even more, and I'm saying that, well, I'm not that fit right now. Well, maybe this vision means that once I am a bit fitter, I will be able to beat this guy. So now all of a sudden I'm like going, now I'm going to try. Now I'm inspired to get fitter. You see? So what can I do? I might go for a walk today. And so this is how we create. This is how we create. And it's the only way we create. Meaning is all that matters. It's all that matters. And our interpretation of the meaning is unique to us. And that's the only thing that matters. Now, this is all well and good. But the reality is that most of us do not trust our visions. We don't trust our visions. We have beliefs that visions are just imaginary. We believe that our thoughts are not valid, that there's something that we should be afraid of, or try and resist, or try and focus. You know, if we get a thought and it's negative, then we should be thinking about positive thoughts only. And so through our free will, we're actually rejecting ourselves, relentlessly rejecting our own nature. And when you understand that this is how the very nature of existence evolves itself, it's literally how it evolves, you begin to realize that resisting this nature, our inherent nature, is not only pointless but so detrimental to our capability and capacity to thrive. And so I'll give you an example. Let's say I receive a vision and it's negative. Then my natural reaction is to be like, I don't want to think about that. Because it might be It might be a vision of me, let's say, it might be a vision of me having a car crash. It might be a vision of me having a car crash, and it's natural to think, oh, I'm not going to think about that. I certainly don't want to manifest it by focusing on it. So I'll focus on good things. So I'll run through my affirmations. I am loving and I am peace and blah, 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 blah. And this is extraordinarily resistant and oppressive. There is, in fact, nothing more self-oppressive, or nothing that holds the energy of self-abandonment more than rejecting a thought, rejecting a vision, or trying to seek validation from someone else as to whether something we've seen is invalid, or as to whether our interpretation of something we've seen or thought of is valid. It's self-rejection, it's self-denial, and it's fundamentally oppressive by nature. So you might be asking, okay, well, what is the ideal scenario? If I get a negative thought, I want to feel good. Well, the truth is that negative thought is trying to evoke an emotion. It's trying to evoke a hidden meaning that hasn't been recognized yet. And you'll hear me say, if you've listened to a lot of these podcasts, you'll hear me say that the brightest light is contained within the deepest shadows. And if once you get to the point where you realize where you're capable of feeling all of your emotions, positive and negative, regardless of of how deep or even potentially disturbing it is, you're in a state where you can actually claim all of your power. Because in the scenario where you get the negative vision, it's trying to reveal something that you want. It's in the form of a repressed desire. And that repressed desire can only be activated once you've uncovered a hidden meaning. That is, I would call it an unconscious meaning, or sometimes I call it an assumed belief. So it's a belief that we do actually have, but we may be unaware that we have it, or the reasons why we've assumed that it's true, when that assumption has yet to be challenged and validated or invalidated or whatever it may be. Nonetheless, we all do it. It's our nature to assume. And once you can accept all of your emotions, you can feel into them and claim the I am of them. I am pathetic. I am cowardly. And so I'll give you the example of the car crash. So I've received the vision of the car crash. I can see myself. I'm driving in the car. It's a bendy road. I'm going to turn down one of the bends, and then I slide out of one of the bends and then drive off the cliff. So I can see it. I've described it. What does it mean? So I project myself into that. Same with the tennis player. I'm imagining myself playing the game of tennis, what it's feeling like, how cool it would be to feel like it, and it's all evoked from there. I'm imagining myself in the car. I'm driving off the side of the road. How is it feeling? What am I experiencing? So I'm driving the car and I'm noticing that I'm feeling anxious. I'm noticing that anxiety is building. I'm wanting it to go faster and faster. I'm trying to escape. And I'm feeling like I'm about to lose control, and I'm going to be out of control. And so I sink into that fear that I'm feeling in the car. What does it mean? I'm allowing it. I am afraid. I am anxious. I am terrified. I am cowardly. I am. Whatever the authentic emotion that's coming up in that moment, you claim the I am of it, because this is really what we're running away from, is our shadows. All of us hold these energies. All of us hold these emotions of being a coward. They're all part of our nature, and they will arise, and they can arise in any moment. And so if we're incapable of accepting the truth of them, if we're not mature enough to accept the truth of these emotions, then we will receive visions like this to show us, so we can reconcile the truth of them without having to outwardly experience having a car crash, you see? And this is why it is so, so important to never, ever neglect your thoughts, ever. Because if you reject your thoughts, if you reject these feelings of these visions, and then one day you will drive off the edge of a cliff. So all I can say is that when you, and every single time, if you can give yourself the unconditional presence, if you can be present enough, if you can bring choiceless awareness, pure awareness to your thoughts, to your visions, allow them to unfold, claim the I am of them, no matter how seemingly negative they are, allow yourself to sink into them deeper and deeper. Just claim the I am of them, express them. I call it a rampage. Just rampage it. I am. I'm terrified. I'm pathetic. I'm weak. What will eventually happen is you'll feel yourself falling out of the bottom. And it's because you've let go of all your resistance to all these emotions, and you'll sink underneath, and then you'll fall out of the bottom, and you'll feel free. You'll feel yourself starting to expand. You'll feel as though you've liberated yourself from all that fear, and then you can start describing that. I'm free. I'm unrestricted. I'm at peace. I'm whatever it may be. And then you'll start to search for meaning again. Why? Why am I all of a sudden feeling at peace? Why am I all of a sudden, is it okay? And, what I've come to realize myself about these kinds of visions, when I've had a vision or a thought of something seemingly negative, that's been fear-based, is vulnerability. Because when you think about vulnerability, you're completely untethered. You're completely free, completely uninhibited. There's no, and in that state of being completely and entirely vulnerable, you're devoid of guilt, and you're devoid of shame. And what I've come to learn is that the experience of being, or the state of being completely shameless, is your most pure state, and that's the most powerful state any human being can be in, and that's because we're not denying any of our true nature. Just like with Adam and Eve, I've used this metaphor before. Before they ate the forbidden fruit, they're just walking around in the Garden of Eden in all their glory. Their true nature is being expressed relentlessly. They're not trying to hide any of their nature. They're completely vulnerable, but because of that, their uniqueness is being expressed into their environment, and so the environment flourishes. Same with the ecosystems in nature. They thrive because the uniqueness of everything's being expressed into that environment, and so the whole thing flourishes. So when we are completely shameless, we are expressing our true nature, and it's our uniqueness that enables us to thrive. And so you can see this one thought of me driving a car off the edge of a cliff. It was holding an experience of me feeling the emotion of being shameless so that I could feel my power. And, who would have thought that that the things that are driving the emotions that we're resisting, that are driving so many of our fears and are causing us to not, resist being vulnerable, is the deepest emotion that we're resisting in this particular example is being shameless, is the desire to be shameless. I want to be shameless. And when you think about what comes with being shameless, you're completely uninhibited. Yes, that means mentally, emotionally, sexually, sensually, completely uninhibited. That means you're capable of anything and everything. You're prepared to follow your own nature, even if in that moment that you might consider that nature to be lewd or whatever. It could be anything. But we all have a desire to be shameless. And you can feel it, how thrilling it is and invigorating it is to be shameless. It's like whatever arises in me right now, I'm going to trust it. I'm going to go with it. And I know that because my nature is programmed to thrive, to vigorously grow and expand and to become more and more of what it has the potential to become, I know that if I surrender to this moment and allow my true nature to arise, that however that's expressed, it's leading me into higher and higher states. And if I'm expressing myself more and more authentically and expressing more of my own uniqueness, then then just through osmosis, the environment around me is thriving, the people around me are thriving. They're mirroring back to me my state of being shameless. And so they're reflecting to me that they're shameless. And so I'm experiencing their uniqueness. And it goes on and on and on. And so, why is the topic of this podcast, why is it called Irresistible? And that's because resistance to being irresistible is what prevents us from becoming totally shameless and therefore totally vulnerable. And for most of us, that begins in childhood because, if you're a child, and in reality, all children are born into this world bringing this energy in with them, that they are irresistible. And you picture it now, if one of your friends has a child or if you have a child, what's the first thing that happens is, everyone comes around to visit the child and that child is irresistible. It is irresistible to the people around it, to its mother, to anyone. You can show someone a photo of that child and the child is irresistible. It's irresistible. You want to grab the cheeks and you just want to eat it all up. And I know you know what I mean. That it's like I want the child inside me almost. It's that irresistible. And this is an extremely primal sensation. And it goes right back to the very nature of how the particles arise from the fabric of space. That every particle, when it's birthed, has an antithesis, and that the antithesis of that particle is its polar opposite. And to each other, they are entirely irresistible. Entirely. And we hold this in us, in our DNA, because we are We are not separate to that. We are an expression of that. We're not different to it. That's part of us. It's our lineage. It's our ancestry. We go back to that moment when there was just pure awareness and it evolved into a mind. And here's the problem. It is a problem, but it's incredibly liberating when you understand it. Being irresistible as a child can be really tough. If you're a child and you become irresistible to a family member, then that family member could interpret that own feeling for themselves as sexual in nature. And so quite conceivably, you can have a scenario where a child is irresistible to a family member sexually, and then abuse begins, and from the perspective of that child, the nature of themselves that is irresistible becomes a threat. And so I must hide this. I must never allow myself to be irresistible. I must never allow anyone to see that I am irresistible. And in fact, I'm going to go out of my way to project to the people around me, to repel them. How can I repel them? How can I thwart their advances? How can I resist being irresistible? And if your body is, it's on board. If you've decided, if you're holding a perception, or if you've made an assumption, doesn't matter, same thing, that it's dangerous and a potential threat to your well-being, or for the potential for your spirit to evolve and to become more and more and more of what it has the potential to become, then your body will be working with you to repress the part of you that is irresistible. You see? I mean, it sounds so silly, but it's totally true. It's totally true. And if I say to you now, you are irresistible, it's true. No matter how repulsive you may think you are, no matter how undeserving, no matter how unattractive you feel, the truth of your nature is that you are irresistible. And there are people in your life that find you irresistible, no matter how hard you try to deter them. And I've got people in my life that I find totally irresistible, but it's not a sensation. It's not a sexual sensation. It's a sensation of wanting to express myself to them and connect with them and share myself with them. I can't resist sending my energy out to them. I can't resist thinking about them. I can't resist caring for them. I couldn't stop it if I tried. And there are scenarios with certain people that even when they ask me to stop, it sounds dodgy, like I've got some restraining order or something. But you know what it's like when you might have an argument with someone and they say, I want time out, I don't want, I want a break, and it's like, I don't need anything from them, but if I want to share myself in the same way I'm sharing myself on this audio, share my day, share an insight, share a revelation, make sure they're being taken care of, I'm just going to do it because I can't withhold my own nature. If I find people irresistible, then they're just irresistible. I can't resist them. And as long as I know that that's pure, and that comes from love, and that comes from just caring about them, then, and knowing that they're free to, reject me, they're free to abandon me completely, they're free to, if I send them an email, they can delete it, then they're free to reject me. I know that it's pure when I can accept the truth of that as long as I can express my nature, it really doesn't matter what they do. Because for me, all it is a feeling that arises within me to share myself. Whether that's rejected or abandoned or denied or it really doesn't matter. And I've come to learn that that's one of the characteristics of really pure love, is that it's about expressing yourself. It's nothing to do with getting anything back or receiving, because we can only truly receive love when we allow ourselves to express our own love that arises. And that when someone, when you get to that point, even when someone rejects that love, the love that you're expressing, you don't feel it, because you've given yourself permission to love yourself and actually allow yourself to express the love that's arising within you. It doesn't matter what's done with it after that. So, being irresistible, believe me and trust me, you are irresistible. You are irresistible. People find you irresistible. Most likely you've withheld the part of you that is irresistible because of shame, misinterpreting that feeling of shame for a desire to be shameless. Two very, very different things. And also potentially to protect yourself from unwanted advances from people who found you irresistible, possibly as a child, or in situations where it wasn't appropriate, or where they misinterpreted their own feelings of finding you irresistible. For someone that's incapable of emotional intimacy, because they may see that as dangerous, or for someone who can't interpret the difference between emotional intimacy, physical intimacy, tenderness, another very difficult one to interpret properly. They may feel that you are irresistible to them, and interpret it as sexual in nature, when in truth, what they actually wanted to do was hold you and just touch your cheek, or look you in the eye, or stroke your head, and it's heartbreaking when you think about it, because we all find each other irresistible in different ways. And because we don't understand these things, we don't understand that it's not shame we're resisting, we're resisting the desire to be shameless, so that we can allow our true nature to arise. We're all really just trying to understand our nature. And if we all did understand our nature, the reality is that we would allow a perfect stranger in the street to stroke our hair and touch our cheek, and we would feel tenderness from a perfect stranger. And I'm saying a huge if here, if we all trusted our own nature, if we all understood our own nature, then we would trust the nature of others. We would understand their nature. We could help them to interpret what they're experiencing. We would be mature enough to know that someone finds us irresistible, that if they're not interpreting that properly, we can help them navigate it. Admitting that you are irresistible is not, there's nothing egotistical about it. It's part of your nature. You are irresistible. And my hope for you and for myself as well, is that we come to know this and understand this part of ourselves so deeply that we allow ourselves to be irresistible to the people around us who already feel how irresistible we are to them. Okay, that's it. Remember, you are irresistible. Cheers for now.